live, and welcome everybody. We are live, in fact. It is Friday today, and welcome to the Mindset and Hustle show. I know it's that show today because it tells me here down at the bottom. Otherwise, I wouldn't have a bloody clue what the hell I'm supposed to be doing. That's just life, but I'll deal with it. Okay, so Mindset and Hustle. In this session, I want to talk to you about dealing with toxic people, people who are unsupportive. And not only that, because they're like really obvious people. And so when they're really obvious, it's really easy because you can just tell them to jog on. But what about these people who are not so obvious? These people who kind of don't motivate or inspire you. They don't necessarily say bad things either. And they're not derogatory in any way, but they're not really supporting you. And, you know, we've all had unsupportive and toxic people in our lives. Of course, we still have toxic and unsupportive people in our lives. Just been dealing with Leeds City Council this morning. I know they're not personal relationships, but good grief. They've given licensing, obviously, for parts of Leeds. And then as soon as we've done that, 20 or 30 houses have all gone up for sale, all from landlords. And then in 6 months, we're going to complain that there's no properties available. Beggars belief. But you have to deal with these people. So how do you do it? How do you deal with them? Well, first of all, you've got to understand that people see the world through the eyes from which they experience the world. So we talk about the identity shell. So they've got belief systems that might be contrary to yours. I'll give you an example to that. In a Guardian newspaper, any article about property, everybody hates landlords. I don't know why it is. It's just the Guardian, which you would expect would be a more motivational type of person who wants to be better off, but they hate landlords for whatever reason, and that's fine. But there's a lot of vile comments that go around about landlords, and that's okay. That's up to them. That's how they see the world. But you've got to understand that that is solely how they see the world. You see the world through your own eyes, and their belief system has told them that landlords are a particular type of person. Now, for me, landlords are usually very good, they're usually very helpful, they usually have their tenants' interest at heart. But you speak to someone from The Guardian and they're like, no, that's not true. And so it's based on their belief system. So you've got beliefs, you've got experiences. They might have been a tenant and they might have experienced life as a tenant with a bad landlord and then assumed all landlords were the same. Conversely, you might be a great landlord with a bad tenant and therefore assume all tenants are the same as well. We call that a complex equivalent, by the way, in NLP terms. It means that, you know, if you're driving a BMW and it keeps breaking down, not all BMWs break down, but that's how you might see the world. So you never buy a BMW again because it kept breaking down. But that's just that one experience, not everybody's experience. And so it's important to understand that when you have people who are toxic or unsupportive, they see the world through their own eyes. And when they're being unsupportive, by the way, it's not that they don't support you. They do support you. But their belief systems and their values and their experiences, especially when they're older, are that they vehemently believe that they are right and you are wrong. And so I was playing basketball this morning, as I always do on a Friday, thankfully. And during that session, we were talking about just this exact same thing, about how people's belief systems. Hey, Johnny's in the house. Welcome, Johnny. Good to have you here. Look, there you go. So people's belief systems are very important in terms of how they see the world. And when you get someone who's more experienced than you, experience being they're older than you are. So I had this when I was getting into property. Oh, you don't want to get into property. Oh, my mate did that and it never ended well. And pizza boxes stapled to the walls as the what's the word? The not experience. The example I always use, and it's ridiculous. Like, so what if you put pizza boxes on the wall? You pull them off, you plaster it, you paint it, you take it out of a bond, everyone's happy. But these are people's opinions, and if they're older than you, they might feel that they've got a more valid opinion than yours, even though it's your stuff. But if this person's got zero experience on property, or they've had one property and had that negative experience, that's a complex equivalent. That doesn't mean that that experience happens for all other properties. Trust me, it doesn't. We have far worse than that. We have cannabis farms and people not paying and not moving and all sorts of stuff, threats on life. I've been threatened to have my head kicked in, which is always fun, as a landlord. So you're like, and I'm, by the way, I'm like, right, motherfucker, I'm coming round. If you want to talk like that to me, then let's see how well you do. I can't help it. It's my upbringing, right? It's my belief systems and the way I've been brought up, and the schooling, and all these different things. But form my opinion about something are exactly the same as other people's opinions that form their opinions about whatever it happens to be, positive and negative. Just as your opinions are based on beliefs, values, experiences, education levels, intelligence levels. Common sense, for example, is something that we talk about being sorely missed in 2020. When people are driving a sat nav and will follow it into a river, or do you know what I mean? It's like, what are you doing? It's just common sense, The fact that we still have to have warning labels on bleach. I'm not saying we should kill stupid people. I'm just saying take the labels off. But the fact that we still have labels on just shows you that people have zero common sense. But all of that rolls into one. And so when you get, two people, and you've got me, for example, and then you've got someone else who's the same age, better educated, but no experience on property, who's going to do better? Well, I'm going to do better because I've got more experience. Even though they might be better educated or even older, they might have more life experience, but they haven't got more specific experience on doing whatever it is that you want to do. Which leads me really nicely onto the next bit, which is whatever it is that you want to do, the chances are that other people have already done it, okay? But the people that you're talking with that are not supporting you, they don't know any of those people, so they think it's impossible. And it might be impossible for them, but it doesn't mean that it's impossible for you. We have another person. Hey, Dan. Hey, just put your name in there so I know who you are. That would be useful. Thank you. Good to see you here anyway. But the idea here is that your belief systems they're not necessarily set and you can change them, but for you, they are your belief systems. And when you start sharing them out with other people start going, well, no, I disagree. Well, I think that's wrong. And that, for me, I've had to learn this, right? This sentence, which I'm going to share with you, I'm going to learn it. And the sentence is, well, I don't give a fuck what you think. That is the sentence that has carried me a long way, because if I did care about what other people thought about me, I wouldn't be doing this, speaking to you good people. I won't be living in Spain. I won't be playing basketball this morning. I won't be having millions of pounds in a property portfolio. I won't be doing anything like that. I'll be working at William Hill, taking bets on the telephone, putting in horse racing bets like I used to when I used to have two jobs. One at Symphony Kitchens in Leeds. That was interesting. One at William Hill on an evening and on a weekend. Because that's what you get for listening to everybody else. Stop listening to everybody else. And that's not the same as not learning from everybody else, right? Let's just get a differentiation of what that means. Stop listening to everybody else is where you're doing what they're telling you to do. Stop doing that. You can still learn from everybody else. This is what we're saying with Richard at basketball this morning. Learning from everybody else is fine. When you've got all the information that is relevant to whatever it is that you're doing, based on that information and based on your own experiences, your values, your belief systems, and all that stuff, then you can begin to make the decision that's correct for you, not the decision that's correct for them. Because the people who are toxic in your life, first of all, do they even know they're toxic? I bet they don't. They have no idea that they're they have no idea that they are I lost my train of thought, and I'll tell you why. It's because I've got Tony in the house. He's a retired Lancashire copper, and if you ever know anything about me and coppers, we don't get on well, except me and Tony do. And we've also got who we've got? Dan and Johnny, Andy Arter. Oh, so we've got everyone in the house. Well done. So thank you for joining me today. By the way, if you've got any comments on this, I'd like to know what you think as well about some of what I've been saying here. A lot of this comes from NLP, but a lot of this comes from my own life experiences. And it's like, when I stopped doing whatever I've done and started listening to everybody else and what I think that I should be doing based on what everybody else thinks, I've had far less success doing that than I have actually going out and making my own way in the world, making my mistakes. And by that, I mean all sorts of mistakes, like loads, and I'm still making them now. You know, Leeds City Council come on, and it's instant wind up with Leeds City Council because I can't stand them. I feel dirty after emailing them. I feel the need to go and have a shower because they're just filthy people. for just, you know, for like little people who are desperate to stop you making money or building wealth. And I think that, you know, like, you want to come and work for the housing sector? Yeah. Do you hate landlords? No, but all right. Oh, you're no good for the job then. Do you hate landlords? Yeah, hate them. Yeah, you'll do. Doesn't matter how qualified you are, you'll do. You know what I mean? So, but you can't stop other people's opinions doing whatever it is that you want to go and do, because what's the point in that? You're supposed to live your life. One of the things that really winds me up is when I see people and they say things like, well, I want to do this, but my mum and dad said I want to do this. How's your mum and dad got to do with it? If your mum and dad want to go do that, then let them go do that. You go and do whatever it is that they want to do. I get it. They love you and they care for you and they want to protect you from all the big bad people in the world. But how on earth do you go out and make mistakes? And this is one of the things that I'm constantly learning with my 5-year-old is, at some point, you know, you want to wrap them in cotton wool and you want to help them as much as possible. But at some point, you've got to let them fail. You've got to kick their ass at, which Monopoly is it? For, My Little Pony Monopoly is the Monopoly that we're paying with her. And so at some point, she has to learn how to lose, okay? Not every time. Sometimes you lose as a parent because you want to teach them how to win, okay? And you want to teach them how to act when they've won, but also you want to teach them a lesson. You want to let them lose as well. Don't be competitive dad from the Fast Show, if you remember that. But you've got to teach your kids how to win and how to lose and how to act in victory and how to act when they lose as well. Now, by the way, this is coming from someone who hates losing. Playing basketball today, you know, 9-8 down, and it's 2 points for a 3-pointer, and 1 point, and I've only got 8 points. We played to 11, and I hate losing. I just hate losing, right? I'm not playing this game to lose. I'm playing this game to win, goddammit. And I always remember Red Auerbach, who used to coach for Boston Celtics in the 60s, I think it was. And he talked about Larry Bird, who was a great player in the 80s of Boston Celtics. It was Larry Bird and Magic Johnson, two best players in basketball at the time. And Red Auerbach said this. He said, the thing about Larry is he comes to win. Some players come to play, Larry comes to win. And that stuck with me for a long time. But when you're bringing up your kids, you've got to teach them how to win and you've got to teach them how to lose as well. But also you've got to understand, as an adult, as a grown-up, which we all are, of course, fellas and ladies, nobody laughs at fart jokes anymore because we're all grown-ups. I still find that quite funny. That's my 5-year-old. So, but you gotta understand that your hits are gonna come, your losses are gonna come, and your wins are gonna come. And the question is, how are you gonna act when those happen? And those toxic people, they're waiting for you to get hit. You know, they're like, well, I told you so. And it's like, yeah, well, keep watching, motherfucker, because it's gonna happen, and we're gonna get over whatever the hurdle is onto the next stage. And we're always more stages, always more levels of success. And I was saying this, I think of basketball again this morning, and I was saying that we've all got our stuff to get over. We've all either got over our stuff or we've got more stuff to come over. And the game isn't over until we die, okay? Either through an accident or through ill health or from us doing it on purpose, okay? And I want to stay in the game for as long as I can, because even though I know I'm going to start making mistakes, I want to prove these haters wrong. And I'll tell you, more, and I'm going to say something really, really bad right now. And I'm like, do I really want to say this? But I'm going to say it. There's nothing better than outliving your enemies. It's got to be said. With success, you want to live longer than those mofos do, right? And I've actually done it already, okay? Which we're not going to go into. But you want to outlive your enemies. You want to out-wealth your enemies. You want to out-health your enemies. You want to out-body your enemies. On a Monday morning at 9 a.m., I don't want to be driving in a car going to work. I want to be walking down to the sea and not having a shower in the house, but going for a swim in the sea at about 9:30 is your 8:30. There's nothing better on a Monday morning than going for a swim in the sea in the Mediterranean before you start work. Because that, as a reminder, is you are out-successing, I don't think that's a word, but you are out-successing your competition, your enemies, your haters, your toxic people. And just one thing while we talk about the word toxic, I don't like the word toxic because when we talk about masculinity, you know, like I see women and they go, I'm a powerful, independent woman, and I'm all for that, and I love that as a concept. Now try going into a feminist group and going, I'm a powerful individual male. strong and powerful. I'm pretty sure you're going to get your face ripped off in that group, right? And whilst I love people saying that, if you're a man and you say this, oh no, that's toxic masculinity, and you're not allowed that. And I hate the phrase toxic masculinity, because anything that men do is toxic in some way. We get angry, we hit things, we shout, we get aggressive. That is the essence of being a male. That is who we are. And yet, you go to family court, by the way, and if you're raising your voice and battling for what you're fighting for, which is access to your kids, you're now classed as aggressive and violent. And I can tell you this from experience with Leeds City Council as well. It's another reason why we don't like them. But a woman goes in and she does exactly the same thing. Well, she's a victim. And it's like, hang on a minute, hold the front door. This is not accurate, and this is not equal, and it's not equanimity, I think the word is. But so I've got issues around the word toxic when we talk about being masculine. I am a man and a masculine male, and I'm loud, and sometimes I'm aggressive, and I'm competitive. I'm a 3 and 5 on Claire Graves scale. So that's I can't remember what colours, orange and red. 3 is aggressive, and 5 is competitive. 4 is rules based. My wife is very rules based. 2 is tribal. She's also tribal because she's a teacher. 2 and 4. Tony, who was on, by the way, is a copper, ex-copper, I should say. He's a 4 and a 2. A 4 is rules based. Not necessarily needs to be told what to do, but I think Tony will probably agree with this. It's helpful for Tony to be told what to do because he's gone through the ranks. But tribal, police officers are tribal as well. I'm 3 and 5. I'd make a good burglar. Aggressive and competitive and aggressive. That's who I am. Now, by the way, that's not to say females can't also have these, because we know females who have these. But this whole idea about toxic masculinity really bothers me. I don't know why I'm going on about this. But we talk about toxicity, and to some extent, you can utilize these people in your life to give you that inspiration. When someone says to me, you're a loser, and by the way, no one said that to me for quite some time, so go call me a loser, because that's like fuel. It's like rocket fuel for my SpaceX rocket. You're a sad little loser. You probably live in your mum's basement. I'm like, yeah, I love those comments, because I'm like, yeah, but we just put an order in we put our deposit down for the Tesla Cybertruck, and it's like, yeah, I live in my mum's basement. That's why I've just ordered a Cybertruck mofo. So that's the aggressive and competitiveness coming through right there. So Tony Walsh is giving me the thumbs up. That's always nice. So it's like understanding where these people are, and on this Claire Graves system, by the way, and Graves was a student of Maslow. Maslow's hierarchy of needs, but at the bottom you've got like shelter, food, companionship, and then above that you've got all this extra stuff, and at the top you've got self-actualization. This is an extension of that, and actually this is how they solved, or one of the tools that they used to solve apartheid in Africa was to use this model, not Maslow, but to use the Claire Graves model it's called a model of a value system. And so let's talk about the person who's toxic, who's even not supporting you. Where are they on that line? If they're a number 4, for example, my wife's a number 4, and so if I'm more aggressive going after something, that maybe horrifies her in some way. Thank you for posting loser. Who was that, you mofo? Right, let me show you. So I'm hurt. So but my wife might disagree with how I go about doing things, and actually, because I'm very self-assured, and I'm self-assured because I'm 3 and 5, I'm competitive and aggressive. Okay, so I go after what I want. And I've learned, by the way, sometimes to fit into the tribe. Very difficult for someone who's got a mouth on them to fit in the tribe and not say anything. And this is how I do it. I fit into a tribe and don't say anything until disaster is about to strike, and then I step in and get them back onto the path. But to allow people to grow and come to the forefront, you've got to give them the reins so they can make their own decisions. If it's bad, then we need to help them, of course. But on the 5, which is competitiveness, like, is the person who's being toxic to you, are they being competitive in a jealous manner? Are they trying to play you down because they want to beat you? They want to get more rich than you are. They want to get more money than you are, better cash flow. They want to buy a bigger Tesla Cybertruck. And by the way, is the Tesla Cybertruck a humble brag? Is that my competitiveness coming out right there? Yeah, hell yeah. And is that the aggressiveness coming in? And is it not me following in and being a rules-based person, level 4, or tribal level 2? It is some of that too. So me trying to fit in on the rules is me trying to be greener and more ethical for the planet. Good for me, good for you, good for the planet. I would probably assume a Cybertruck, but I'd probably never have to fuel ever, because we live in Spain, and in the sun with the solar panels, you get 15 miles a day. Well, I only drive 15 miles a day on a good day, right? Very rare do I drive more than that. So I probably never have to put petrol in it. Not petrol, I never have to put electricity in it because it's self-fulfilling, if you like. I'll take the loser down. Where are we? There we go. So, but then, am I tribal? Yeah, I've got shares in Tesla. I'm buying a Tesla. I love everything that SpaceX does. I love seeing the rockets going up. I love the fact that we'll be Teslas driving on Mars. My truck is going to drive on Mars. Think about that for a moment. How empowering that is for someone who's invested in that company for the good of mankind. How cool is that? There's some aggressive and some competitive stuff in there. But this is what makes a person up. And so you need to look at the person who's either not supporting you or is being toxic in some way or negative in some way. And where do they sit on that? As you get higher up, it goes to level 7, 8, and 9, and these are like self-actualizations where everything that you do is good for you, good for the planet, and so on. So like on the property sourcing training that we provide, which we're about to add a price point on, it's been free for a couple of months, we're going to stick a small price point on that. But me giving that away is me being at the point of self-actualization. Now, I don't live at the point of self-actualization. I'm far too selfish for that. Because if I did, I would be spending 99% of my time solving the homeless problem, and I'm not that charitable. I am charitable, but I'm not that charitable. Okay, maybe charitable more than I don't know even how you measure it. But I have moments of self-actualization, and that's the level that I'm comfortable at. And then you have other people who are completely at the level of self-actualization. Let's assume for 1 second that that's Greta, and I don't believe that for one moment. There's other stuff that's going on with Greta. Greta Thunberg, of course. Everybody loves Greta. But she believes she's at the level of self-actualization. Her parents believe that she is at that, although her parents are probably getting other stuff coming off this, by the way. Well, let's not go into that too much. But that's where Greta thinks she is, and if that's what helps to manipulate the planet into being a better, more greener, more ethical, good for you, good for me, good for the planet kind of thing, then I'm all up for that. Although there are other stuff going on underneath the surface if you take a look closer. So what's this got to do with toxic people, unsupportive people? This is the key for me. Get rid of them. Move them out of the way. And when I say this, you've got to be aware. Some of these are your partner, they're your family. Some of it is their own programming. So if they've been in the army or the police force, protect Tony. Tony's built a certain way and thinks a certain way, and he's been indoctrinated that for the last 30 years to think that certain way, right? I think that's probably fair to say. AML, yes. Tony's just saying that risk assessment and the policy for anti-money laundering on the property sourcing. Thank you for that, Tony. Very relevant. And the due diligence pack is here as well, by the way, which you can just take a look at. You should have a look at that. Let me put you back to Mindset and Hustle. So this is what I want you to do then. I want you to think about who is the toxic people in your life. And if they are family or close friends, maybe it's time to see them less. If it's your partner, that could be something else entirely. You need to go on the journey together. Those that go on self-development courses together, evolve together. When you have a person on a self-development course and the other person isn't, they evolve separately. Let's just have a look at any comments there. Tony's just asking about the Tesla. Is it a rigid DeLorean from Back to the Future? It kind of looks like one, actually. It is very, very similar. Let me hide that comment and get to that comment. Hide it. Not that one. Yeah, that's that one. What do I want to hide? This one here, banners. There we go. Not that one. So this is what you want to do. You want to get rid of toxic people. If they are close-knit family and so on, you want to work out how often each year you want to see them. The funniest thing I saw was a guy on stage and he's going, I love my family. My mum, my dad, my brothers and sisters, I love them. That's why I spend at least once a year making contact with them, because that's how much I love them. And he loves them lots, but he just doesn't want to hang out with them, if you see what I mean. So that's number one. Work out who are the toxic people, decide if you want them in your group anymore. And you might outgrow people, and that's okay to do. And then the second bit that you want to be doing here is that you want to be identifying people who you want in your group. Who can you have a phone call with once a week, once a month? Who can you go on a mastermind group with once a week, once a month? Who can you create a mastermind group with and decide who you want in that group and bring them to you, so that you can learn off powerful people? So I was saying to Richard at basketball, if I was hanging out with people who were male fitness models on Instagram, there's a, you know, here in Spain, there's a very good chance that my body would represent the same with the people that I hang out with. There's no way could I be going, should we go to McDonald's, lads? That's just not going to happen. It'll be, can we go get some kale and a bit of working out? That's probably what it would work out as. And I don't hang around with those sort of people. So if that's a goal of mine, and it is definitely a goal to have a better body, as I quickly approaching 50 in the next 2.5 years, then maybe that's something that I need to do. But what is it for you? What is the mastermind that you want to be doing? Do you want to be hanging around with people who are buying properties at an auction and selling them the next month at an auction? Okay, well, how do you hang out with those people? Where do those people hang out? Auctions. Go to auctions, see the same people, have a coffee. It's really simple. This is how you break it down. You see the fit guy at the gym, and you go, like you can overdo this, by the way. You walk up to the fit guy at the gym and you go, hello, you've got nice muscles. He's probably thinking you're after something else. And so you might want to kind of adapt the way in which you are doing this, just to make sure you don't get the wrong idea. Otherwise, you might end up being very popular at the gym, more popular than you actually wanted to be. Let's just have a look. What's Tony saying? Tony's saying our more mature families don't get what we do, and I absolutely 100% agree with you on that, Tony. That's a great profile picture of you, by the way. But I totally get that. Most people who are older, you know, all this new self-development, and we used to see 10, 15 years ago, people taking the piss out of self-development. There used to be a boss advert, and the advert went like this: driving around in a convertible car, not me. And he's literally, he's wearing Boss aftershave, I think it was Boss, and he's literally bragging because he's on the top deck of an open bus. And the words were, driving around in a convertible car, not me, like, look how good I am. And he's on the top of a bloody open deck bus. And that's nothing to be proud of. Do you know what I mean? Like, where's your go buy the convertible car, for God's sake, and if that's what floats your boat. But you gotta hang out with people who are similar to you. And I love Ty Lopez's way of doing it. He hangs out with 3 types of people. It's a third, and a third. The first third is people who are doing better than he is. And as my mate Dave said yesterday in one of my phone calls, which I made with Dave yesterday, and we're going to have he was the best man at my wedding for Tony and Tina, who was at my wedding. So he and I agreed that we're going to have this phone call once a week, because we should be operating at that level. So this is a third, and a third. A third of people who are doing better than you. And as Dave said, the higher up you go, the oxygen gets thinner up there, because there's not that many people who are doing better than you are. So much harder to find and a much more difficult circle to get into, because like me, we protect our circle. And then a third of people who are doing about the same as you, and then a third of people who are doing less than you as well, so that you can kind of pay it forward and pass it on, and that kind of thing. So your job should be to identify people who you can go out and build a network with, meet for coffee once a month. Even if it's just once a month, but you have 12 different people that you do this, that's 3 or 4 people every single week. That would work really, really well for you. Probably be a bit coffeeed out, in fact. But that would work very, very well in terms of you building your network of people. I know there's people that get on a boat, doing property, and they go to the Greek islands in winter, and they talk about property. They go skiing. That's the sort of groups that you want to be getting into. And then you start to share, then you start to build relationships, then you start having more open conversations, and you get into the nitty-gritty, and you get access to information you wouldn't normally have if you're just having these surface level conversations, which a lot of people do. And then the other side of it as well is you can't have these on Facebook. You've got to have personal phone calls. You've got to have one-on-one meetings. You've got to have one-to-many group meetings, a small group of people, mastermind it, whatever that happens to be. That's what you need to do. So look, that will do us for today. We've gone for about half an hour here, far more than I actually anticipated. But I hope that's useful for you. We've got a comment come in. Let's see what that was. Do you think we still don't celebrate success as a country? Yes, absolutely we don't celebrate success. And when you go to Tony Robbins, Unleash the Power Within, he's like, imagine you've done the most amazing thing and then celebrate. And everyone's jumping up and down and woo, and hugging each other and singing and crying. And I'm like, I've done some amazing things in my life, but I've never celebrated like that. Do you know what I mean? We're English. We go, yep, that's how we celebrate stuff. And I'm not saying that you have to jump up and down and hug strangers. And it's somewhere in between, but whatever's comfortable for you. But I think you should be having celebration of success at least once a month, right? We call that our month end. And, you know, we've got, just yesterday, I was looking at the sheet for this month's goals to see how far we've done and how far we've got and what else needed to be implemented, because today's Friday, you know. So we're doing all of that. And so we're celebrating once a week, but we don't jump up and down and buy a cigar and have a slap-up meal. And the celebration thing is a bit weird. So let me give you an example. I was listening to a radio and a woman had won £10,000 in some radio competition, which is amazing. Congratulations, awesome work. Not that it was work, it was luck, but it's fine. Great, very happy for you. And then the DJ said, what are you going to do to celebrate? Are you going to have some champagne? And I just thought that was a really interesting comment. What do you mean? Like, I question everything, right? So I'm like, what do you mean, champagne? I'm not talking to him because he's on the radio, but I'm like, this is how people celebrate. Oh, pop the champagne, cigar. Woo! Got to book a holiday. Are you going to book a holiday? Are you going to go on holiday to celebrate? What, to spend £10,000 that I just bloody well won? Fuck no, I'm paying off my credit card. Do you know what I mean? What are you doing to celebrate? Well, I'm going to buy I've got, you know, £5 saved up. There's another 10 grand there. I'm going to buy a buy-to-let house. I've got income for the rest of my life, 250 quid profit for the rest of my life. Oh, what do you want to do that for? Do you know what I mean? I just find the whole celebration thing quite interesting. You've got to pick and choose what you want to do to celebrate. I like the idea of having parties that you don't pay for. So what I mean by that, our villa, and you've been to a villa, Tony, our villa in Spain is a very good villa for entertaining. So we've got doors that open up onto the pool. We've got a barbecue area. It's covered in case it gets cold or rains. I'm laughing, by the way, because someone put where is it? Really inspiring. Just removed you from my contacts. Cheeky bugger. Is that Richard? Because he was on about that today. But we've got a very party kind of entertaining type of villa. So when we do parties, we're like, bring a dish, bring some beer. You've got our oven, we'll put the barbecue on, we've got the pool, we'll bring the music, but everybody else brings other stuff. It's very little work to do. We have, I almost said plastic plates, but we don't do that because Greta would get upset. We have paper plates and knife and forks, okay? So do we use plastic knife and forks? That's going to have to change. We're going to have to stop using plastic, single-use plastic, by the way. Even my 5-year-old now tells me off about single-use plastic. So, like, we're about to enter a different world where people are a lot more woke than they were 20 years ago, 10 years ago. But 5-year-olds that turn into 25-year-olds, if you're using a plastic straw in 20 years' time, oh my goodness, you are never going to hear the end of it. But we can bring people to the villa and we can have, like, you know, an event, a pool party, and the music's there, and there's loads of parents, all the kids can swim, and so we can celebrate in that kind of way. So that's very good for us. We don't do it in winter, but we do it in summer. And honestly, my celebration is looking at my spreadsheet. You know, last night we were trying to negotiate for a lease option for a property that we're looking to buy in about 3 years' time. And I need to chase up to see how well we are with that, see if that's going to come through. But if that comes through, that's a really nice one. I am going to celebrate by updating the numbers on my spreadsheet right there. And so actually, we don't celebrate enough, and maybe we should. But then what you're going to do, have a party and bring people around because you've got a lease option. And like part of me is saying, this is interesting, by the way, it's from an NLP point of view. Part of me, this is what's called a parts integration. Part of me is going, well, you don't want to brag. And another part of me is going, fuck, you want to brag, right? And this is really important. Check this out. If you've lasted this long, you should listen to this bit because this is really important. People who listen to a replay haven't got this far and missing this out. If I was to ask, who does that person look like? It looks like all my haters. If I was to ask, who's that person who says you shouldn't celebrate your successes? Well, you think you're good, do you? You think you're all that, you think you're something. That's who that looks like. That's who that represents. And the part of me that goes, fuck no, you should have a party. Who does that represent? That represents my ego that needs feeding, right? Because I'm a man, I'm a masculine man, and I've got an ego and it needs feeding, right? So I don't do it because all these toxic people go, who do you think you are? You think you're all that? I'm coming around to celebrate with you. Who do you think you are? And here, right, like you want to identify those people who aren't supporting you. Have a party to celebrate some of your success and see who turns up. Those people who turn up, they're supporting you. They should go into your little circle. Those people who don't turn up, who do they look like? Motherfuckers, off you go. Like, who does it look like? It looks like me, the ego, the part that needs feeding for, do you know what? I've done really well. This is going to be a great start to 2020. Like in the back of my mind, I'm like, okay, actually, we should do this. We're going to a curry on the 15th, and so maybe that's how it should be, a celebratory curry, where we just celebrating. Everyone still pays their own meal, but I just want to make people aware that this is the result that we've had. We've got to do the deal first, right? But if we do, maybe that's what we should do. It should be a celebratory curry. Why not do that, Tony? Did that answer it for you? It's very interesting when we look at who does this look like? Well, you know, floating your own boat and you think you're all that. And it's all the toxic and negative people who've been unsupportive in your life. And actually, who are the people that are supporting you? And who is this person who's most supporting you is yourself. That's exactly why you should be celebrating and inviting other people around to celebrate your success. Those that don't want to do it shouldn't be in your environment anyway. That's a tough call to make. And I get that. And that's a difficult decision to make. Anyway, let's go. Okay, hope that was good for you. We'll catch up with you on Monday. Hope yourselves have a wicked weekend. Do some goal setting for next week. Do some planning. Work out who you want in your life. Work out who you don't want in your life. Let me know how the divorces go. And we'll catch up with you on Monday. Have a wicked time. My name's Dan Latto. Take care.